What's going on, everybody? Will here, and welcome to the Book Barrel. Today we'll go over the TBR for the Heart-a-thon. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for stopping by. If you want more videos like these, please consider subscribing to this channel and don't forget to turn on your notifications. So it's finally here. August is in full swing, and with that being the case, I did want to put a TBR out. And basically what we've done amongst myself and my other co-hosts, we split up the reading prompts, and so each one of us will be trying to fulfill or satisfy one of the 4 prompts. And then I also have some other recommendations for each prompt based upon what some of you guys will be reading. So let's get into it. The first category is education, and of the co-hosts, Bintou from Read with Bintou will be satisfying that prompt, and she's made the choice to read I Am Malala. This book is fairly well known. It's been adapted into a film at this point, and basically she's going against the cultural norm of women being uneducated, taking a stand on a social and political level to extend that opportunity of education to girls just like herself. Another book that will satisfy this education prompt, shout out to Elle. She's going to be reading Educated by Tara Westmore. It is a memoir, and Tara comes from a Mormon background, so culturally and in her family of origin, they weren't really supportive and really didn't see the necessity for as much education. So basically she's going completely against the grain, and she decides that she's gonna go to university. Another book that will satisfy the education prompt is one that 3V Ball will be reading, and that's A Class of Their Own by Adam Fairclough. This one pretty much chronicles the history of black educators from emancipation up until present day, and so all of the unique challenges, hurdles and experiences that they've had as black educators. The next category or prompt is the art category, and Ray over at Whiskey in My Kindle is actually going to be one of the co-hosts that's reading for that particular prompt. She is a mood reader, so she's put forth kind of options, and we'll see kind of how she feels, but I will present one book that she put forth as an option, and that is Starfish by Akemi Don Bowman. And basically this one is about a student who is proficient and excels in art. They want to further their education and go to a particular art school. It doesn't work out, their family's against it, and they're pretty much kind of like at this crossroads of like things aren't really going good at home. Art is not only something that I enjoy, it's therapeutic for me, it's my escape, but now we're looking at art as also a way to elevate the life that I'm living. And I have these people in the way of me pursuing that opportunity. And so I think that's going to be a really good read. We also know that art is so expansive. And so I want to highlight also what David Wardrop is going to be reading. And that's Born to Run, the autobiography of Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen is kind of this huge, world-renowned, famous, mega folk rock star, and Born to Run was the album that kind of catapulted him into like superstardom, and so he decided to title his autobiography Born to Run. And so I don't know much of his early life before the fame and how, you know, what drove him to become the star that he later became, but I'd be interested to see, and we'll kind of be looking forward to hearing from David on how that read goes. The next book that we have that can satisfy the art prompt, one that Beck over at MoonyReadsByStarlight will be reading, The House of Impossible Beauty by Joseph Cassara. This one is focusing on drag queens and drag culture in the early 80s, and it's just more of a focus on art from a fashion sense and an aesthetic sense of art. And so we kind of noticing the trend that drag queens and drag culture is always on the bleeding edge And they're kind of the canary in the coal mine for the larger fashion and beauty industries. So this one is going to be really interesting. Elizabeth 2018 will be reading. This one is a long title, so I'm going to have to read it. Nature Anatomy, The Curious Parts and Pieces of the Natural World by Julia Rothman and John Niekratz. It's basically a book about the natural world, from wildlife, the plains, mountains, volcanoes, animals, insects, basically everything in the natural world is kind of being explored to a degree in this book. And what's really interesting about it is that it's illustrated. So every page and every topic that they decide to write about, they also have beautiful illustrations to correlate with what's being said. So check that one out, and good luck to you, Elizabeth. The next category that we have is Resistance. Joe over at the Booktube Dude is actually going to be the co-host that's reading for that prompt. He's decided to read The Underground Railroad by Colin Whitehead. It's a fictitious alternate history where two slaves are basically documenting, or their stories being told of them trying to escape into the north and gain their freedom via the Underground Railroad. Another book that can satisfy this prompt, and it's also going to be the book that Sandra Camacho is going to be reading, is The Great Pretender by Susanna Callahan. What they did was they had what would be considered normal everyday members of society go undercover and be in these facilities, and basically they would have to prove that they're normal to get out. And so they were being diagnosed with all sorts of mental illnesses. They were being mistreated during their time here, and basically it raises the question of what's crazy. Another book that can possibly meet the prompt for Resistance, and this is what Alex over at PucksAndPaperbacks will be reading, The Pretty One, On Life, Pop Culture, Disability, and Other Reasons to Fall in Love with Me by Kia Brown. This one is basically a memoir. The young lady Kia Brown is chronicling her experience with disability to remove that stigma of mental illness, disability, race, whatever the case may be. All of these books highlight coming against what people would just normally accept as the way things are, or the facts. The last prompt, Technology, is the one that I'll be reading about. The book that I've chosen to read is A Mind at Play by Jimmy Soni and Rob Goodman, biography of Claude Shannon. Claude Shannon is touted as the father of the information age, and also the person who originated information theory. And he later invented the bit, transformed the way that we understood data, innovated the way that we transmit data, and just made the modern, all the modern technology that we have runs off of this baseline of data being transmitted in that way that he came up with. So he's a huge innovator. I'm interested to learn more about his story and just get an understanding of like all this technology that we use. I'm on YouTube right now. How is this possible? Another book that can satisfy this technology prompt, K's and Chaos will be reading Ada Lovelace Cracks the Code by Rebel Girls, and it basically looks like maybe a middle grades book to promote more girls in STEM. So we're really excited about that. Another book that will actually satisfy this prompt, and the book that BookishWithMariah will be reading, is Slave by Brittany Morris. This is another one that follows a young lady who's kind of innovative in the technology field, because she creates a video game that is kind of an inclusive community for persons of color, where kind of like a safe haven where they can all kind of hang out, have fun, enjoy themselves. But plot twist, something happens, and she's kind of in the midst of navigating that. So we're going to be interested to see how that turns out. Looking forward to hear from Mariah when she finishes that one. I want to wish everybody a happy month of August and a happy Heart-a-thon. Enjoy your reading. And we'll reconvene afterwards, see how it went. If you have watched the video up until this point, I do want to thank you for the time you spend here at the channel. Like the video, say something nice in the comments. I love to hear from you.